In this video, we are going to talk about the second stage of aerobic cellular respiration, and this is pyruvate oxidation. So recall that in glycolysis, we have one glucose molecule being split into two pyruvate. So now we're going to talk about what happens to those two pyruvate. And as promised, this is quick and easy. So the overview, we have, again, pyruvate from glycolysis. And we have to remember at this point that we are dealing with two of everything. So we have two pyruvate coming into this stage of glycolysis. Now, glycolysis, if we remember, occurs in the cytosol, and then everything else occurs in the mitochondria. So the pyruvate needs to find a way to get into the mitochondria. And recall that the mitochondria has two membranes. So it has the outer membrane and the inner membrane. If you look at the diagram here, we see that pyruvate can actually just pass through the outer membrane through large pores, but it needs a transport protein, a transport carrier, to let it into the matrix of the mitochondria through the inner membrane. And this is a pyruvate-specific membrane carrier. Once it's in the mitochondria, we're going to see three reactions occur that convert pyruvate to acetyl-CoA. Acetyl-CoA will then go to the citric acid cycle, which we will look at a later date. So we're going to look at each of those three reactions, and then we're done. It's not a very long stage compared to glycolysis. So the first stage we see in the chart on the left, where we have decarboxylation. This is a reaction. And if we remember from Unit 1, we have a carboxyl group, which is highlighted in blue. That, if you notice, is also CO2. So there's carbon and two oxygen. So the removal of that carboxyl group, called decarboxylation reaction, results in the removal of carbon dioxide. This reaction alone results in a third of the carbon dioxide we exhale. What is left? We see, again, if we look on the left, we have in the pyruvate box, we'll have two carbons left over, and that is an important molecule that's going to carry through. So for the second reaction, in the middle box, we have a familiar reaction happening. We have the reduction of NAD+ to NADH. And if you recall that whenever we have a reduction, we also have something that's being oxidized. So we have that two carbon molecule from the leftover of stage 1 gets oxidized. So the electrons are being transferred from that two carbon molecule to NAD+, producing NADH. The third reaction is called transacetylation. This is where that two carbon group attaches to a coenzyme A molecule. So this is a large molecule, and it has a sulfur atom attached to it. And that two carbon molecule is going to attach to that sulfur atom of the CoA enzyme. The coenzyme A is derived from vitamin B5, so just one reason why it's important to be consuming all of our healthy produce, vegetables, to be getting all of our important vitamins. This is called acetyl-CoA. Can't see because my picture's in front of the words, but we see it is called acetyl-CoA. This is sometimes referred to as a carrier molecule because you will see in the next phase, the CoA, coenzyme A, is essentially just dropping off the acetyl group, and you'll see that later. So the CoA will drop off that acetyl group and come back and pick up another acetyl group. So it's just like another carrier system. So those are the three reactions. We have the decarboxylation of pyruvate as the first reaction. We have the reduction of NAD plus to NADH. And again, we know that the NADH will go on to the electron transport chain to produce more ATP. And lastly, we have the acetyl group being attached to a carrier coenzyme A. So our net reaction, remember, we have 2 pyruvates being produced for every glucose molecule that is being consumed. So we have 2 pyruvate is going to react with 2 NAD+, and we have 2 coenzyme A or CoAs going into the reaction. What is produced? We have 2 acetyl CoAs being produced, 2 NADH, 2 hydrogen ions, which we'll see how important these are being produced, and 2 molecules of carbon dioxide, which we exhale. So that is pyruvate oxidation. We still have a lot of energy in that acetyl-CoA group, which is going to go into the citric acid cycle and completely get broken down to get all of the energy possible from glucose.